In this explainer, we're going to dive into the fundamentals of microbiology. That is, the scientific study of microscopic life. So, here's what we'll cover. First, we'll ask, what is microbiology? Then we'll get into how we classify all this microscopic life. After that, we'll zoom in on the world of bacteria, looking at their cells, a really important technique called the Gram stain, and finally, we'll talk about why all this structural stuff really matters. All right, let's start with the big question. What exactly is microbiology? Well, at its core, it's the study of an entire unseen world. A world filled with organisms that are just too small for us to see with the naked eye. So, to put a formal definition on it, microbiology is the study of microscopic organisms. And, this covers a huge and incredibly diverse group of life forms. We're talking about bacteria, viruses, fungi, and protozoa, just to name the big players. Now, it's really important to get this straight. Microbes have kind of a dual role. When you hear bacteria, you might immediately think of diseases, and sure, some of them are pathogenic, but the vast majority are actually beneficial. They're absolutely essential for things like our own digestion, for helping plants get nitrogen, and they're even used in all sorts of industrial processes. Here's a mind-blowing fact to put it in perspective. It's estimated your body has about as many microbial cells as it has human cells. So yeah, those few that cause disease, they're really just a tiny fraction of the microbial world. Okay, so with millions and millions of these tiny species out there, how on earth do we keep them all straight? Well, scientists use a standardized system to organize them, and it's called taxonomic classification. This system, this hierarchy, applies to all life, not just microbes. It starts with the broadest category, which is domain, and then gets more and more specific as you go down the list, all the way to genus and species. There's actually a common mnemonic to help remember the order. Dina's kids prefer candy over fried green spinach. Okay, let's talk about one of the most fundamental divides in all of biology. You can pretty much split all life into two main types of cells, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotic cells, which include bacteria, are structurally pretty simple. The big thing to remember is they do not have a membrane-bound nucleus. Their genetic material is just kind of floating around. Eukaryotic cells, on the other hand, do have a true nucleus that keeps all their genetic material nice and tidy. Plus, they have a bunch of other membrane-bound compartments called organelles.
All right, now that we've got the big picture, let's zoom in and focus specifically on bacteria, since they're such a huge part of microbiology.
So, how do bacteria get their names? Well, they use what's called binomial nomenclature, which is just a fancy way of saying they have a two-part name, a genus and a species. And often, these names are really descriptive. Take Staphylococcus aureus, for example. Staphylo actually describes a cluster that looks like a bunch of grapes, and coccus tells you the cells are spherical. See? The name gives you clues about what it looks like.
Speaking of shapes, let's look at the most common ones you'll see. These are often called their morphologies. You've got cocci, which are the spherical or round ones. Then there are bacilli, which are rod-shaped. And spirochetes are, you guessed it, spiral-shaped. But it doesn't stop there. They can also form specific arrangements. You might see pairs, long chains, or even those grape-like clusters we just talked about. Okay, so we've covered what they look like from the outside. Now let's go a level deeper and take a look at the key structures both inside and outside a typical bacterial cell. So what are the key parts? Well, they have a cell wall that provides structural support, kind of like an exoskeleton. Many have flagella for getting around and pili for sticking to surfaces. A lot of bacteria also have something called a glycocalyx, which is a protective outer capsule. Then on the inside, you've got the cytoplasm, which holds the genetic material, and all the important metabolic stuff like respiration happens right on the cell's plasma membrane.
Now, speaking of respiration, bacteria don't have mitochondria like eukaryotic cells do. So, for a long time, it was thought that these little infoldings of the plasma membrane, called mesosomes, were where respiration happened. You might still see this in older textbooks. But, and this is a big but, it's now widely understood that these mesosomes aren't real functional structures in living cells. They're actually just artifacts, wrinkles basically, that are created during the process of preparing the cells to be viewed under an electron microscope. So an important correction there.
Okay, next up is one of the most fundamental and important techniques in all of microbiology. It's a way to classify bacteria based on a key difference in their cell wall structure. So, in a clinical setting, when you need to identify a bacterium quickly, how do you do it? Well, one of the first and most important ways is by looking at the physical and chemical properties of its cell wall. And the technique for doing that is called the Gram stain. What it does is split almost all bacteria into two huge groups, gram-positive and gram-negative. And it does this based entirely on how their cell walls react to a specific set of dyes.
So what's the actual difference? It all comes down to the cell wall. Gram-positive bacteria have a really thick cell wall made of something called peptidoglycan. Think of it like a thick, mesh-like armor. This thick layer traps the first dye used in the process, a crystal violet stain, which is why they end up looking purple under the microscope. Gram-negative bacteria, on the other hand, have a much, much thinner layer of that peptidoglycan. And on top of that, they have an entire extra outer membrane. This outer layer prevents them from holding on to that first purple dye, so they get washed out and then pick up the second, pink, counterstain.
Now, that outer membrane on gram-negative bacteria is a really big deal from a medical standpoint. Why? Because it contains a molecule called lipopolysaccharide, or LPS for short. And a specific part of LPS, called lipid A, acts as something called an endotoxin. If these bacteria die and release this endotoxin into a patient's body, it can trigger a massive immune response. We're talking about serious symptoms like high fever and even life-threatening septic shock. So knowing if a bacterium is gram-negative is absolutely critical.
So let's bring this all together and talk about why all these structural details actually matter, especially in medicine.
When you get right down to it, understanding bacterial structure, everything from their basic shape to the nitty-gritty of their cell wall composition, is absolutely critical. This knowledge is the key to identifying the pathogens that cause disease, figuring out how they make us sick, and most importantly, developing targeted antibiotic treatments to fight them. So really, all of these fundamental concepts form the very foundation of medical microbiology and the entire study of infectious disease.